Good morning, everyone. Here I am back for Ask Sharon this Wednesday morning, 10 o'clock Pacific time, 1 o'clock afternoon on the Eastern Standard Time. So I am delighted to be back with you this week. And it's going to be fun because, sometimes you have to talk about things that are a little uncomfortable. And one of the things that some of the questions came up, we're talking about when you want the results, but don't like the process. So maybe you want the results, but you don't want to have to put in the hard work. And we're in a society where people want things easy. They want it to be easy. And many of you know that when I had the honor of bringing out the book Outwitting the Devil, it had been hidden for a long time and put away, locked away for 73 years. And then when I brought it out, it was like 75 years after it was written. And it was because Napoleon Hill had spent his life researching and working on Think and Grow Rich. And when Think and Grow Rich was published in 1937, Napoleon Hill was frustrated. He was frustrated because even though people know what they're supposed to do, they don't do it, right? And the underlying part of that is they want the results without liking the process of what they need to do to make it happen. And so in today's world, and we see the movie and the book, The Secret, thinking about you think good thoughts and good results will come. And, that we do totally believe in the idea of law of attraction and positive thinking. Napoleon Hill actually wrote about it long before The Secret. In 1919, he wrote about the law of attraction. But he also said, go the extra mile. Do what you need to. When you talk about entrepreneurship, people say, you do sometimes have to work extra hard 24/7 for the first couple of years, but then you build that asset that can continue in the business systems that end up working for you. So short term, which might feel long term, but short term investment of your time, energies, and talent result in long-term benefit and rewards. So again, think about the systems. People don't want to invest in the system, taking the time to do what it takes to get the results that they want. And that's why I just really encourage each and every one of you to think about what is it that you can do to invest in your future, and understand there's a process that you need to go through. When you want the results but don't like the process, ask yourself, where is that coming from? Where is that coming from that you want the results without going through the process? Is that from instant gratification? You think you've got instant, that we all end up with that kind of thing all the time. And sure, you can get used to that, that entitlement I talk about as your children. We want to be a mentor, but not an enabler. So the child goes through the process of achieving what they want instead of us doing it for them. I talk about the science, the big science project. When you go into the science fair and you're fourth graders or fifth graders, you can immediately see which one of the projects mom and dad did as opposed to the ones that the kids did. Then you ask yourself, you say, I'm so proud of myself. I'm such a great parent. I helped him with this project. But maybe that child is thinking, if I don't do it, mom will step in and do it. And that's that when you cross over from being that mentor into an enabler. And then that becoming an enabler, you actually become a disabler because your kids stop having that drive and wanting to do it on their own. And that sense of accomplishment, which increases their self-worth, starts to slip away because they feel like they can't do it on their own. You think you're being such a great parent, and your kid is saying, well, she doesn't think I can do it on my own. And so challenge yourself and ask yourself, part of that self-confidence comes from wanting something and going through the process of achieving it. Hello, Stephanie. Welcome. So happy to have you. Tracy, wonderful to have you back every week. And Karen Tooley and Yusuf, thank you so much. And as all of us think about, we want life to be easier. And sometimes it's just easier to go, read a book or watch a TV program, go sit by the pool And there's nothing wrong with enjoying life a little bit, but when you know that you have the opportunity for great rewards, challenge yourself to actually watch the process, go through the process, because it's so important that you have every opportunity, but you still have the choice and you need to take the action. And I challenge each of you to think about what it is that you're doing. What is it that that's sitting there waiting to accomplish to be able to create the success that you so richly deserve? And I've got quite a few questions this morning. So I'm going to jump into the questions, then I'll add a little extra as I'm going through them. My first question is from Richard from California. I'm in my last year of study at UC Berkeley, completing my engineering degree. Fantastic. I've dreamed of becoming an engineer since I was a kid and always thought I could create my own business around my field. 2 years ago, I joined an organization to make a little extra money, and I've been able to create a nice income stream for myself. It has me questioning my post-graduation plan. I'm going to finish my degree, but now feel like I'm not allocating my time on the most lucrative activity. Have you ever made major shifts midway through production or development processes or partway through completion of a long-term plan? And how did you decide the right path? Well, and of course, I don't necessarily read these ahead of time. So Richard, thank you for that question. And I bet there's quite a few of us listening that have either been where you are right now or maybe are going through it right now as well. And I know a lot of people, we talk about pivoting, right? Sometimes you're going down one path and you realize that you spent your time and energy in that path, and then you say it's not comfortable, it's not what you want. And that's part of the discovery and process. So I can't really dictate or share with you what you should do, but I spent my career, my education training to be a CPA, and I got out there, and it didn't take me too many years to realize that, if I was going to work that hard, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so I definitely pivoted in my career when I did that. But everything I learned up to that point had added great insight and value in everything I've done since then. And so in engineering is the same way. What great insights, what great, even learning in engineering, the thought process. And I don't know which kind of engineering you were in, but yeah, that's great training. And I'm not sure what your side income is, an organization to make a little extra money. You're questioning your post-graduation plans. Well, if you're still questioning it, then you should still proceed in the direction you're going until you know that you're making the right decision. Sometimes, many of you have heard me talk about sometimes you have to close one door for other doors of opportunity to open. But sometimes going down dual paths is not such a bad thing. When I was in college, I was taking a hard science track as well as accounting because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And then one day I realized, I want to do the accounting side. And once I made that decision, it was no problem. But I kept both doors open for me because I really hadn't made that determination. And so you have the opportunity, I guess I challenge you to be grateful for the fact that you have this side income, and grateful for the fact that you have the talent and the ability to go through engineering school. So you have a double opportunity sitting there, and maybe triple, quadruple. So continue going in the path until you know that you're making that right decision. Because a lot of times people, particularly when they've gone down the road of postgraduate work and they stop in the middle, they go back and they think later they regret not finishing it. And so, as long as you're not going into too much debt, you may want to at least accomplish that so that you don't regret it later in life. But keep your opportunities open, because the process of going back and trying to get that again is difficult. And so you're in that stream now. So, I like to complete projects. That's me, because that makes me feel better about myself. But you have that opportunity. And if you're getting self-worth and value from this side business, the more that gives you, the less you may need from the engineering postgraduate work. But until that switch is made in here and in here, I would certainly not walk away from something that you're not sure you want to walk away from, because that will only make things, if it closes a door that you still may want to have open. So I hope that helps you, Richard, and I wish you well. And I would stop being concerned about what you should do and be grateful that you have the opportunity to make those choices. Again, when I talk about we can't hold negative and positive in our brain at the same time, you have choices, and a lot of people want those kinds of choices. So congratulations. Next question is Lizzie from the UK. I provide social media management services to people who want to get a bigger audience online. My clients come from referrals, and I've been able to stay as busy as I want. I bet you can. I want to continue to grow, including adding people to my team, so my income is not dependent on only me. If I were giving advice to a client in my position, I would say they need to increase their personal visibility online so people can become familiar with their brand and create trust. Videos are a major part of the strategy I recommend to clients, but I never employ this strategy myself. As I grow my brand, I don't want to be it all about me. Do you recommend I avoid doing lives that tie my brand to me specifically and find other ways to incorporate video into my strategy? Okay, Lizzie from the UK, you're providing a service. So first of all, you want people to be able to find you. So if somebody refers you, they may want to see what kind of work you do. So certainly having a web presence and a website that highlights the kind of work that you or your team have done. And then of course, in the about section, you can have yourself and as other members of your team as well. But clients who want to have your work probably want to have want to see the product of your work and your creativity. And so showcasing what you do for other clients is a wonderful way to do that. Having testimonials and videos from your clients talking about your work, showing how your work has helped them increase their revenues, is certainly an important thing, because remember, when I talk about clients, it's what's in it for them. And so, yeah, if you feel you need to highlight yourself, but again, if you're trying to expand by bringing other people on your team, you want to highlight your team so that you can continue scaling by adding more members to the team. And so I would recommend you focus on work product and showing the kind of talent that you have. And then also getting those video testimonials from clients who will talk about how your work has not made them not only strengthen their brand, but how your work has increased their revenue. Because those potential clients may get your name through a referral, but many of them may want to see the results that you get for other people. So I think that's great. And I appreciate the fact that you're thinking about the best way to approach this. And yes, video is definitely still king. But think about, you might do a video yourself about what you do, introducing yourself and how you do it. And in that video, I would heighten the fact that you have a team of talented people that support you, and then have those videos from your clients as well. Next question. Terry is an interior designer, specializing in creating calming spaces for professionals, serving people who have experienced trauma in their life. Wow, good for you. I started my own business 5 years ago, and I now have 3 other designers working for me, utilizing my techniques. Good. I live in Texas, but have clients all over the US. I recently met an IP attorney who asked if I'd protected any of my ideas or techniques. It never occurred to me that this is necessary. I don't know if he was trying to drum up business, or it was genuinely indicating to me that if I have something that needs to be protected. I assume this is an expensive process and don't want to waste money if it isn't necessary. Well, Terry, as an interior designer, intellectual property is a huge thing. It's a huge asset. And certainly you know that it's near and dear to my heart. If you don't know that about me yet, it definitely is. Certainly with my husband being an intellectual property attorney. And I think it's important to understand that if you solve a problem or you serve a need, you're creating intellectual property. And if you have a unique technique or process, it is potentially something you can protect. I don't know exactly what you do or how you do it, but it would certainly be worth an initial consultation with an intellectual property and attorney, or in our program, and I'll have Angela type something in the comments about this, essential components of a successful business. We go really in depth into intellectual property, and we have an intellectual property checklist in there that, you know, an audit that will help you identify IP and maybe help you identify if you do have something that can be protected. The other thing about that is that in that we identify things for you to gather together and questions to answer, so that if you do go see an IP attorney, you're more prepared. And so your bill will be lower because you're more prepared for them. And you won't have to get your homework together ahead of time, and then you'll minimize the amount of costs that you have to pay for an IP attorney. But I always recommend when somebody starts a business that they talk to an IP attorney to see if there's something that they can identify as unique and different, because that gives you that competitive advantage. And having a competitive advantage is always something you want in a business. So that if you feel that that individual wasn't sincere, then you need to pay attention to that. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't find an intellectual property attorney to talk to. So I highly, and it sounds like a great business, Terry. So I hope you do very well on that. Next question. Hi, Sharon. This is Rebecca. I'm from Savannah, Georgia. I'm a working mother of 3 and run my own daycare center. I work at the center, and then when the owner I originally worked at the center. When the owner retired, I decided to invest in the business that I contributed to for several years. I was already responsible for much of the operations before buying the business, but had not dealt with much of the regulatory administrative side. It's been about 14 months, and boy, has it been eye-opening. I am sure that's the case. I love the kids and have a great staff, but really don't like this side of the business. I would love to hand responsibility off to someone else, but I'm not sure how wise that is, because if it isn't handled correctly, my business is at risk. And there are some parts of your business that you purposely do not relinquish responsibilities. So are there to others? Well, Rebecca, this is a great question. And I bet everybody listening has felt similar at times. You know, the administrative, the oversight, the regulation side of, I haven't met anybody that really loves that, unless you're the regulator yourself. And yet it's a necessary evil of running a smart and efficient business. And so, you know, when you ask me if I have processes, yes, I have people in my office that support me in making sure that happens, but it's still ultimately my responsibility. I still sign the forms. I still have to sign, you know, the documents. And so I have to have a level of trust in the people that are working with me, that what they're doing is accurate and what their oversight is. But it's also, again, ultimately my responsibility. So I will carefully review all the regulatory issues, and I will ask certain questions during that process to make sure that things are being done. But you don't have to do it all yourself. You can have somebody that comes in on a part-time basis who may do it for other people, so they were familiar with the process, so they bring their experience, their time, and their talent to you. And then they can help you complete the forms or do the regulatory side of it, and then you review it. And in fact, that's probably, if you can find somebody who's familiar with your industry, that helps you a lot, because you're not trying to reinvent the wheel or learn on your own. You have somebody who has that experience and knowledge that can come mentor you in completing what you want, no matter what your business is. Whether it's just simply in a tax situation, you have an outside CPA helping you, you are still ultimately responsible. And so it's important to understand what they're doing, even though they're doing the work. You need them to update you on what they're doing, why they're doing it, and what the results are, and what the risks are. And so we have the same issues, not a daycare, but you know, we have our ranch, and at our ranch, we have certain things. I have to make sure we have liability insurance. We have a cattle operation. We have a horseback riding operation. We have the lodging. So each one of those has different issues that we need to pay attention to and make sure that they get covered. And so we have different entities, and all that is something that we have to pay attention to. And you know, we have people on our team that do those things for us, but ultimately it's my responsibility. And so Don't feel like you have to do it all, because then that's taking up a big bulk of your time, but bring in the expert to do it for you. You know, make sure you have the expertise on your team. Have people who are strong where you are weak. But yes, and it sounds like you hate doing it anyway. So find somebody else that can do it, and you spend your time on continuing to market your business, because it sounds like you've got a great business. And you learned it from the inside out, right? You worked there first, so you learned all that stuff from the inside out. Maybe this regulatory piece is not what you'd learned while you were building, working within the business, but it's still something you need to have the ultimate responsibility for. Okay, Freddie from Florida, from sunny Florida. It's pretty sunny here in Arizona too, Freddie. 110 degrees yesterday. Whew. I'm 37 years young. I love that. And most people would agree that I have high energy and I'm very enthusiastic. Having said that, I get stuck in the details when it comes to running my business. I'm a photographer, and I work with all kinds of artists to help them share their art with the world. I also teach a local youth theater so that young artists can have resources to explore their own artistic passion. Good for you, Freddie. I like to stay busy, but hate busy work. Well, I think we just talked about that with Rebecca. I really want this to be my forever career, but just don't know how to get better and the details. Better, maybe he meant better with the details. I don't make enough money to hire someone to help me, but don't think I am going to be able to make more money without improvement. What would Sharon do? Well, Freddie from sunny Florida, it sounds like you have a lot of people that you're helping, and I bet some of them would be willing to help you back, and maybe not charge you. So I think you have many irons in the fire. You have a photographer, and then you also have your youth center, and then you have the young artists that you're helping them share their art with the world. So you probably should look at things as different revenue streams, and then also different administrative streams, because sometimes we do things we want to and love to that may not generate the revenue. And so we need to kind of analyze each one and say, this is where my money is coming from. This is how I want to devote my time. And sometimes you'll discover in doing that and dissecting it, you're going to discover that maybe spending a couple of hours less on the things you really want to do and add those couple of hours to the revenue generating will ease things up for you a little bit. And in this case, the detail that you don't want to do, I bet there are people that you're helping out there that don't mind the detail. And so you might help them get their artwork without charging them, do it on a barter, and they step in and help you on some of the detailed work. And that's the power of association, finding people who are strong where you are weak. And it sounds to me like you've already identified the area where not necessarily that you're weak, but that doesn't excite you. And it's an amazing what happens when you start thinking that way. When you start opening yourself to the possibility, all of a sudden there are other things you're going to think of that people can support you and do for you that you can then give back to them as well. That old concept of bartering and exchange is alive and well. It's called collaboration, where you do something for them and they do something for you, and it's a win-win-win, because at the ultimate end of the day, your customers win as well. So let's see. I have another question here from Bernadette. She's 45. I'm a salon owner from Columbus, Ohio. I built and have grown my business for the last 10 years, and it provides me a good income. But I really lost my love for my business and feel like I need to move on to something different. Never considered what it would look like to transition out of a business that I built. I could sell it and use the money to invest in something else, or hire someone to take over the business and keep making money from it. I'm not sure if my intuition is telling me to sell and move on, or if it's the emotional response to 10 years of blood, sweat, and tears and the drama of being in the beauty services industry. How do you know when it's time to say goodbye? When you want the results but don't like the process. Well, this is Bernadette. And I tell you, Bernadette, I bet a lot of people watching and listening right now have been in that same position. Sometimes you spend a lot of energy, time, and build something up, and then the excitement of getting it up and it becomes successful. As an entrepreneur, you start saying, "Is this all there is? What's next?" And you start losing your passion for it. sometimes that comes from just exhaustion. And so, I would suggest an interim step. Maybe make sure you probably, if your business is successful, you probably have somebody that worked there that could step in and be a manager for you for your salon. And then maybe you need to take a good, take a month in Italy or a month down the street at the beach, where you can just go and kind of get your mind right with the world. Because when you, and I grew up, my mother had her own beauty shop, so I know what I'm talking about. Our house, we lived between my mom's beauty shop and my dad's car lot. And you live, breathe, and eat it 24/7. Maybe you just need a little separation from it. Sounds like you probably haven't taken many vacations in building your business over the last 10 years. And that's when we get so run down in the sameness of each day. All right, we get up, we do the same thing, we go to bed, we get up. And so what happens is we get numb. And sometimes we need to shake it up a little bit and get ourselves out of that environment to give our brain some rest, and our habits to give some rest, so that you go somewhere to allow yourself to really think, and really think strategically about what you want in life and what's next. What's next for what you're doing for yourself and your family. And it may very well be that having that beauty salon adds great income to you, and you can hire a manager and let it keep going. Or maybe you're just over it, you're done with it, and you can find someone to buy the business from you, and then use that income for something different. But take this time, take a month off, and really give yourself some time to do some mind work and find out what it is you might want to do without letting go of that revenue stream. Continue nurturing it, continue having someone else manage it for you and support it while you think about what's next for you. What is your next best chapter? I know Karen is still listening here, so we talked with her about that, because that's what she does in her business, helping you determine what your passion is. So, having that passion. In fact, Karen Tooley, who's a part of this call today, she does helps people with a passion test. And if you want more information on that, Karen, I want you to put something in the comments about how somebody can find you. And maybe you need that. Maybe you need that separation, that time to go away and think about it. Maybe you need to do the passion test. Maybe you need to figure out what's right with your world, because so many times we get to concentrate on what's wrong with the world that we forget to recognize what's right with the world. And so many people would love to have a successful business after 10 years. And it's an asset generating revenue. So think long and hard before you decide to just sell it, before you know what it is you want to do next. Because your question is very similar to some of these other questions we had. Richard not knowing whether he wants to give up this side revenue or give up his master's studies. So, a lot of the considerations are the same. And I talk about closing one door for other doors open, but sometimes you want to keep both doors open, and make sure you continue moving down the path until you make that decision. And there's something inside you, we talk about that sixth sense in Think and Grow Rich, the sixth sense, and your body will sometimes tell you it's time. Just like when my body finally told me it was time for me to walk away from Rich Dad. Had nothing to do with the income. I was making great income. It was highly successful. But every day I would ask myself, is this good for Sharon? No, but we were still making a positive impact. And I'm making a positive impact. So therefore, okay, I would take out, I would be okay being uncomfortable in the business. And then one day it was like, nope, I can't be there anymore. And allow yourself to trust your gut. And then I challenge you on the inverse, because it's going to sound like I'm talking out both sides of my mouth. But if you want, things can be easy or they can be difficult. The issue is, what are you willing to do? How much do you want it? People want quick results without putting forth the energy and effort. And if you remember back during the 2008, it was so anybody could get a loan. and the industry went wild. And what happened? We had a major reset in our economy because people weren't willing to go through the process. The banks released, they just give everybody a loan without going through the process of making sure they could repay the loan. And look what happened. So do you want that to happen in your own life? Roll up the sleeves, right? Go the extra mile, put forth the energy and the effort, take the actions you need to give yourself time to determine what you want in life. And that's what I'm doing with the Play Big movement. I'm literally going through the process, and I get frustrated. I want it to move faster, but I'm working with experts, and I get impatient with them, and I catch myself like, okay, I'm going through the process. This is a process that they've perfected, that they've done with others that are, doing very well. So, okay, Sharon, back off. Don't be impatient. Let's go through the process, take the steps that we need. And as Angela often has to remind me, and I remind you, sometimes you have to celebrate the little wins along the way, because we want to get here, but we need to stop and celebrate when we're here. The first little wins along the way. And for those type A personalities that are watching, we tend to want the whole enchilada. Well, let's celebrate the little steps along the way, because the results are there, but they're sweeter, absolutely much sweeter and much more long-term when you've taken the process to do it right, when you've taken the journey to get it right. Get the people on your team you need to. Go through the steps. Don't try and skip steps. Go through the process. Take the actions that you know you need to do. Because understand, as an entrepreneur, I'll start wrapping this up as I started it. Starting a business is not easy. And it takes a lot of commitment from you and your family to understand what you're doing, and consideration and patience. But when you go through that process, that 24/7 journey, for several, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to build a successful business, and it's, here's 10 years, 5 years, you have an asset that can generate revenue for you for a lifetime. So is it worth it, that 2 to 5 years of hard work, to have an asset that's going to generate revenue for you every day for the rest of your life? I think it might be worth it. So you need to go through that process, and you'll get the results if you go through the process. But again, as we shared with several of you, talking about understanding to make sure you keep your finger on the pulse. I still sign the checks in my company, so I know what's happening when I'm not the one actually doing all the day-to-day work. If I can see the checks, my brain tells me what I'm doing. So that's it for today, folks. And we have some great podcasts coming out. So if you haven't signed up for the podcasts, please, Angela's going to put something in here, but you can go to SharonLechter.com/podcast. Join the Play Big movement, and the Play Big movement private Facebook page is Play Big Movement with Sharon Lechter, because part of our podcast is the one that we broadcast to everyone, but in each of my guests I have a private interview that goes only into the private Facebook group, Play Big Movement with Sharon Lechter. So please talk about it with your friends. Tell them to ask to join so that we can continue moving that. We're just about to release the Play Big course that we've done. We're doing the final touches. I'm very excited about it. I gave a sneak preview to an event that I spoke at last week, and we had a lot of people jump up and sign up ahead of time. And so we're about to, if you want more information on that, just email us at info@SharonLechter.com, and we'll get you more information about that. So we're very, very excited about what's happening, and the excitement that other people are having, because people want to play big, and we want you to play big. It's talking about being number one in your field, living your legacy, and creating maximum impact. Someone asked me yesterday if it was just for entrepreneurs. No, you can play big and be a stay-at-home mom. We talked about that, I think, last week or the week before. And that is just making the most out of every day. The one resource we can't get back is time. And so making the most of every day we have on earth, every moment, to really add value to the world will come back to us in so many different ways. So thank you for watching today. And please, again, sign in for the podcast and even give us a few reviews. We've had all 5-star reviews so far, but this is the ground floor. So get in there with us and help us make this a big success, because it's not about me, it's about you and about us working together and playing big together. So thank you all. Have a fantastic day. And until next time, and on Thursday mornings, I have the science of playing big. And I want you to join me on Thursdays in that private Facebook group for those, because I'll give you a little tidbit every Thursday morning about things that I've done and I'm doing to play big. Thanks all. Have a great day.